last year, I think you achieved the goal of reading over 100 books last year. That's absolutely amazing. You were, I don't know anyone who's actually accomplished that. I think Bill Gates talks about reading that many books as well, but that's a lot of books. How did you accomplish that goal? Was it?
So it was actually in 2017 that I did this, and
Yeah.
I was just in a really unique position where I was working from home, and honestly, this job that I had, I actually found a way to outsource the whole thing. So I hired a VA, and they were just doing it all for me. So I
Hmm.
had the most amount of time I've ever had in my life.
What were you
And
building at home? What were you working on?
oh, so at that point, I was actually working for a company. So
Oh,
I was
okay.
just doing digital marketing. So
Mm,
I was doing SEO, that type of stuff, and I had just done enough of it that I could teach someone else how to do it all.
mm,
And yeah, so I did that,
cool.
and but that freed me up so I could just read. Like I didn't have any crazy amount of responsibilities at the time, and it started out just, oh, okay, you know what? It actually was Ty Lopez that actually I was the first person that even put that idea in my head.
Mm,
And but I think a big thing I should stay here that helped me to do this is I didn't read every single book from start to finish. And the
mm,
reason why I say that is like there were some where I had clearly got the main point of the book.
mm-hmm,
And I was like, okay, I've read like 70% of this. I get what's happening here. And I was like,
mm,
okay, on the next one. So I always tell people that just so that they know, because a lot of people are like, no, it doesn't count unless you've read it from start to finish. I kind of let go of that idea that you have to
mm.
read a book. I think you just have to get the main point from the book
Yeah,
and then
true.
and get more. Because when you're reading a book, especially if a book's like 300, 400 pages, you can only take so much from it at one time.
Yeah.
Um, but I just I would honestly just spend 8 hours a day reading. Like I had
Wow.
heard that that's what Warren Buffett does, and I really didn't believe it. I was like, there's no way someone can read for 8 hours a day. But when I was doing that, honestly, I just started flying through books, and then before you know it, I was at like 60 books, but it was like maybe like October, and I
Mm,
was like, holy crap, I could actually probably read 100. Like if I really push it, I could probably read 100 books, and I just went for it. By that point, like I just really tried to focus all my effort and energy into
yeah.
finishing 100 books, and yeah, like I did it, and yeah, I wrote a blog post about it and on Medium, which it actually ended up doing very well, and yeah, it was just an amazing experience because what I realized from it was that at first I was like, hey, is this really going to do anything? Like I'm just flooding myself with so much information.
Mm,
But I realized later, like I read so many different types of books. I pulled books from different people's lists and stuff. And um, again, years later, like now it's paying off because I read so much and got such a breadth of knowledge. It made me
mm.
so much interested in conversation. I think that was actually the thing that helped me the most. When I would just be talking to people, I would just be like, "Oh yeah, I read this book, and in the book it said da 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 da," and
Yeah,
I could just
yeah,
pull
yeah.
up that information, and they would just be like, "Oh wow, like you read that," and because I had read so many in one year, it just added to my Rolodex. Um, and yeah, I would say I probably will not for a while get another chance to do that just because I've been more busy with family and business.
Mm.
But I look forward to being older one day and being able to do that again because it was so relaxing and refreshing to be able to read that much in one year.
Wow. So it was like the whole year, where it was like full time just reading and you're just absorbing all this information and
Yeah.
wow, that would just
And,
change your
and
perspective. Yeah.
And I will also say one thing that really helped this, and this is where like circumstances always play so much in timing and how these things happen. At that
Mm,
point, I was living in Ann Arbor, Michigan,
okay.
which for people listening, that's where the University of Michigan is, which is one of the more popular universities here.
Okay.
And I found a bookstore that was giving new books away for $1 to $3. Like paperbacks were literally $1, and basically people would donate books that were like brand new books, and I
Yeah.
could buy them for $3, and it
That
was
is
crazy.
incredible. That's
So I
crazy.
would
Yeah,
go there with $50 and just come back with a pile of books. So
yeah.
that also is something that helped. And I will say this: if you are someone who wants to read that much, the
Mm,
one way to push yourself to do that is buy more books than you can possibly handle. If you just buy
mm,
like one book at a time over like 3 or 4 months, then you're gonna read at that rate. But
mm,
if you look at your bookshelf and you're like, oh my gosh, there's like 40 books I've never read before. It pushes you to read them faster so that you can get to the next book. and just keep buying more and keep getting them on the bookshelf.
Mm,
I know for some people, I will say this, that might be anxiety building for some people. Some people that would be like, oh my gosh, I just couldn't do it. But
yeah,
if you're the type of person who you can handle pushing yourself like that, I strongly recommend that find a used bookstore, buy used books from Amazon, and just buy more than you can possibly handle in that
that's a
moment.
great tip.
And yeah, and it will force you to. It forces you to get up every day when you see a pile of 5 books you haven't read. You're like, man, I gotta
Mm.
get to these books so I can get to these next 5.
Yeah, that is so true. There's yeah, whenever I go to bookstore, I always walk away with maybe 1 or 2 books, but I'm a bit slow when it comes to reading. But the times when if I go traveling and then I find that there's some sort of sale and I buy a whole bunch of books, if it's sitting on my table, I'm just like, okay, I got to get through these books, right? So, and it is true exactly what you said. Like when you're reading a book, you want to just get like a few key points from it, and if it's a really good book, such as like Think and Grow Rich, like by Napoleon Hill, that's something that you want to read over and over again and really digest it. But most of the books out there, you just go through it, just get the key points, and then get to the next book, right? So that
Yes,
is so cool.
and I will also say with that, that's a very good point. And the only way to find those books that are worth reading over and over and over again is to read a lot of books. Like
Yeah,
you don't
yeah.
know which. So, for example, I'm not a big fan of Thinking. I shouldn't say I'm not a big fan. Think
Mm.
and Grow Rich isn't my favorite Napoleon Hill book.
Okay.
My favorite is actually The Law of Success. I read The Law of Success. I read at least 4 to 5 pages of that every single day, and I've done that for the last 2 years.
Wow.
Um, at first, Think and Grow Rich is the one everyone talks about, but
Yeah,
I
yeah, yeah.
actually reading the Valuetainment. He has a very
Patrick Bet David.
popular. Yes, him.
Yeah,
His book list. He has The Law of Success as number 1. So I was like, oh, what's this? I'd never heard of it. So I
yeah.
bought it, and I was like, the book is like 500 pages, I think, and it is amazing. There's 15 core things that it's like you have to hit these 15 things to be successful.
Mm,
Like self-confidence, the golden rule, and it goes through a whole bunch of things that
mm.
thinking, accurate thinking, and so I just read a bit of that every day, and I think that for me it's been much more beneficial than Think and Grow Rich. But I
Yeah,
only figured that out in the year that I read 100 books because I
yeah.
just read books. I figured out which books were worth actually reading over and over again, and I would say you probably have to read between 150 and 300 books to really find those like 50 books that are like, these
Mm.
are game changers for me, and I'm going to continue diving back into these books.
Yeah, yeah. I guess it's a bit like the Pareto principle, the 80-20 rule, so you had to go through the 100 books, and then now that 100, you found the 20 really good ones
Yes.
that you can just
There
really
we
want to
go.
spend. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Exactly.
That is so
Exactly.
cool. And I think one of the best books that you read was Relentless by Tim Grover. Is that correct? That's the one that,
Oh
yeah.
yeah, Relentless. And I would say that was the best book for if you're talking in the athlete world. For
Okay.
business, I'm not as much of a fan of that book because it's very cutthroat. Like it's very much like
Is it?
how
Okay.
Kobe Bryant and Michael Jordan, how these guys pick up their mindset. Whereas I
Mm,
think in sports, the one thing that's very different to business requires collaboration. Like me and you could be selling very similar products, but we can
mm.
still work together and help each other.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Sports doesn't really work. Like sports, it's like I'm trying to win, I'm trying to make sure you
Yeah.
lose. Like it's a
Yeah.
it's
Win
a
and lose.
very clear win and
True.
lose. Whereas business, it's more like there can be a win and lose, but in business, you're trying to find a lot of win-wins as well.
Exactly. And it's doable. Like you can easily
Oh,
construct these
sure.
creative deals and stuff like that. So,
Exactly. And
yeah.
like even something simple like me writing that guest post on your blog,
Mm.
it's beneficial for both of us in many different ways. Like it
Yeah,
gives you
definitely.
content, gives you reason for people to come to your site. I
Yeah.
share it out and people go, and so
It's
and
win-win.
then for
Yeah.
me, exactly, and it works to get my name out there. So
Mm.
it's beneficial on both ends, and that win to win is not really found in Relentless, but it is a great book for reading for just developing a killer mindset to be successful.